Hello, everyone, and welcome back to That's Hot podcast. Today, I have the most magnificent and beautifully dressed, might I say, Tambaurlon.
Thank you so much.
And your nails are done too.
I'm doing my best to be hot is how I'm dealing with my problems. No pun intended on the name. I used to deal with my feelings by being disheveled and being dirty. But now that I'm entering my old age, I'm 31. I feel like that's less acceptable.
As I'm 36. It's just downhill from there.
Yeah, so I feel like, damn, I'm already getting old. I don't want to be old and looking crummy. So
I know.
Yeah, we're doing
But it's summer. It's so hot.
It is hot. It's oppressive. It is I'm not doing my hair for real in this heat. There will never be any makeup. Oh, how's the heat in Texas?
That's all that matters.
We got triple digit heat here in California.
Oh, wow. That's big. It was really hot, but thankfully and unthankfully, because of that hurricane that came along, it like hit the coast, but over here in Dallas, it made it cooler. So it's decently pleasant.
Not that we're going to minimize you guys' pain for the rest that had no power and all that in Texas. I'm so sorry.
But for those 2 days, it felt really good. Yeah. Sucks to be them.
Sucks to be.
I mean, nobody told them to live near a coast. Like, they get to have the coast and they can have it.
Yeah, that's true. You gotta take the good with the bad.
Global warming, we know that the water's just coming inward. Anyway, and that because of waste and plastic and mining and all the waste that like fashion produces so much waste. This is how we're segueing into fashion.
Yes. I was gonna say I'm doing my best to, ruin society by wearing a different outfit on this podcast regularly, but don't think about that.
Well, isn't it like fashion is so wasteful? It's like the number 2, I think. Like, in regards to waste.
We're pretty extreme.
It's crazy.
But,
Anyway, what can we do? At this point, we're all going to die. It doesn't matter. We're burning alive. Poor sharks and whales. To segue this, somebody who was not all about fast fashion and really cared about the intricate, like detail work of haute couture, we are talking today about a book we both read for our book club. So if you haven't joined already, feel free to join us on social media. But we're talking about Dior by Dior. So this was his autobiography that he personally wrote. So yeah, we're going to review that today.
Yes, the great Dior, our namesake host here, Christian, a part of a line of illustrious Christians, was born in, let me go to my notes, because I have been in a world of Dior for this past month. I watched the TV show that's on Apple TV. Very good.
Oh, we'll have to talk about that because I haven't seen it.
Ooh, yes, you should watch it. So I could definitely rewatch it. The Dior show, and then I read this book as well. So I feel both overwhelmed and like some of my thoughts may be scattered because, too much Dior. So he was born on...
Scattered because I have ADD.
Same.
And I just figured that out.
He was born in January on the 21st in 1905. Does that mean he's a Capricorn?
He is. Oh, wait. What day in January?
21st.
No, he's an Aquarius. They're trash.
Okay, I don't know nothing about the Zodiac, so y'all let us know about Aquarius in the comments.
The Aquarius I know of is Tinashe.
The only Aquarius I know of is Carisha from the City Girls.
Celebrities.
He was born to for the time, pretty wealthy family. He's the second of 5 kids. The family owned a fertilizer company. So interesting way to make money, but however it's stacking up, it's stacking, baby. We don't care about the details. His mom was very glamorous. So I think that's what inspired Christian Dior. And to get in just a little bit of teeny propaganda, as a queer person, do you feel like sometimes having a very, very glamorous mom is a gateway to being gay?
No. I feel like I did not have a glamorous mom. She'll admit, like, for years, she, like, wore a badge of honor that she didn't wear makeup, this and that. And, she's around all this glamorous stuff for her job and everything. But so she would introduce us to all the nice and fine things. And I pretty much saw it because I had an older sister. And so, or I have an older sister. And she's still around.
I was going to say, did you kill her?
I wish. Sometimes. I'm just kidding. I have an older sister. And so, just watching my mom kind of like lived through her. So she got her nice gowns. Like, I think she wore, because, quinceañeras are like a rite of passage for like Mexican like culture. She had a quinceañera and she wore this It was like a bridal gown, but it was like elaborate. Anyway, also she wore like Vera Wang at an age. That's how I knew about Vera Wang. And so it was cool to see it. But of course, I was in the closet. So I had to like they say in Devil Wears Prada, you know, I had to take Vogue underneath the bleachers and pretend that they were at sports practice or whatever.
You're loving all these clothes in secret. You're like, ooh, I want to touch that Vera Wang. Mm.
Yes, like so satiny, so beautiful. But yes, so Dior was not made gay by his mom. But yeah, it definitely had an influence.
You have to have some sort of inspiration in life. Like it has to be like a glamorous lady. Maybe I messed up by saying mom. In Dior's situation, it was his mom. But it can be like if you have a lot of hot aunts, if you have a cool older sister, if you have a very glamorous neighbor. It's like you need a muse in a way to bring that creativity out. What do I know? I'm saying like...
We'll just briefly touch on this, but I was reading this or listening to this book, which goes with my ADD. I was listening to this audiobook once again, and how fathers, you know, fathers are ideally supposed to be the first and also the most important male relationship that a boy or, you know, a child is supposed to have. But, you know, like growing up gay or whatever, they probably didn't have that. So then it becomes a thing where like the mother kind of steps in and she fills that role. And so it be kind of, because the lack of the father figure, the mother kind of like has to step in. And so I feel like that's interesting because it's not because they gravitate to it, it's because that's all they don't have that other figure.
Okay, kind of like when we read the Edward Enfield book, and we talked about that on the podcast as well, that like his dad was kind of so strict and so stern and mean, and he was away from home a lot of the time. So yeah, the mom does have to step up and like be in, okay, if you don't play a sport or something like that, yeah, you got to come to the beauty salon with me, and you kind of just end up hanging around here. And then when you do get a male influence, he's so damn mean. It's like, my goodness, I don't want to be like that. So maybe like I just need to go back over here with the girls. Like everybody's fun, nice, and it's chill. Like this man's crazy,
right?
What a web we weave. Speaking of fathers, at a point, seemingly at the worst time, right? Christian Dior's brother dies. His mother dies. Christian himself gets tuberculosis. And his daddy goes broke. Why would you pick now? Doesn't make sense. But anyways, Christian, left out in the cold, he has to rely on his friends. Luckily, he was very amiable, cool with the right crowd of people. Because I hate to say it, if one of my friends got tuberculosis right now, I could not help them, you know, convalesce in Spain. Like, Christian, I love you so much, but you would have to go down to the local community hospital. Maybe I could get you an Uber and a little bit of food. But what they did for him, not in these tough economic times. I'm so sorry. So he was definitely friends with the right crowd. They put him up. Then he gets out, healed, of course. And they start getting him jobs, placements, selling his fashion sketches. I skipped a little bit before that. He did own some art galleries. He went to college. He studied politics because his dad wanted him to be a Democrat. Like, I guess that helped elevate the family back in those times, like being a courtier, because there were still monarchies. And so after all of that goes bust, because, you know, you don't got daddy's money no more to just fund your art gallery. You can't sit in here and wait for this Picasso to sell all day. Literally, that's what they were doing. So he had to get to work. Oh, he could paint. He fell back on his old skill. He's sketching. The friends start selling him to these magazines, newspapers, and then eventually it gets picked up, I think, by Harper's Bazaar. And then he decides, like, because he's making the money, he's sending it back home, helping his daddy because they're broke now. They're living in the house that they bought for the nanny to retire in. And I'm assuming that is a far fall for a rich family. Like, now we got to stay in the hood where we put the nanny at, and with the little sister. So Christian is sending all his money back to them. Then he's like, oh, maybe I can sell them to designers. And that's when things get bigger for him.
I was going to say that the Dior by Dior, like his autobiography, it was interesting because I wanted to get to know all of the, like, before. And within his autobiography, it was interesting that he chose to, like, ruminate on, obviously, the later years and starting his actual career. And it was him coming to terms with becoming Christian Dior and taking on this persona. So really, he felt for him that he was this shy guy, that there was two different Christian Diors. So whenever he became a public figure, he had to, like, put on that hat and really, you know, become, like, fit this character that they wanted. But he didn't really touch on it a ton of his, like, formative years.
No, there wasn't a lot of childhood stuff. He did say, though, that he was an introvert And he preferred like intimate gatherings with his friends. He didn't really like sudden change, and he does not like noise. I agree with all of that. But at the same time, yeah, if you want to make a little money, you can't be a recluse. So you got to get out here and be among the people. My book analysis is going to be odd because like I said, I watched the show as well. So some of this is show knowledge, some of this is book knowledge. You know, but all of it. Same story. So we didn't get a lot about the childhood. Like I said, I made my inference that perhaps maybe having a super glam mom, super hot mom might have made him a little more partial to the girl things. What can you do? He tried to follow in the dad's path. He tried to be a diplomat. Didn't work out. Art gallery stuff also didn't work out. Start selling the sketches. That's when things start going good. But then, and hopefully we don't have to live through a situation like this, the goddamn war starts. World War II.
That was at the point where he was still selling his sketches, right?
Yeah.
And was he working for that? Was it PK?
Oh, one of the people he worked for, what is his name? Richard Piquet. He also sold sketches to Schiaparelli, Elsa Schiaparelli herself. Then during the war, because you got to get a job, especially now your daddy is not rich. So he started working for Monsieur Lelong, and Lelong was producing dresses. It seemed, I don't know if Lelong also had textile manufacturing, because, in France, sometimes it gets tricky. Like, some houses do more than, like, they produce other things. But that's how it seemed. Like, Lelong also was doing materials, and he's working there. He had no fashion experience, like how to sew or anything like that, but he learns being a dressmaker, like, on the job, essentially.
I wish it was that easy.
Yeah, me too, because I've been in a lot of pre-party, as you tell me that's the wrong time to do it. But I've been in a lot of pre-event situations where I feel like, I can make this dress real quick. And I can't. The answer is always, I can't.
He gets the job at Lelong, and he's not there for long.
Well,
he didn't say all that long. Lelong.
He's there like a couple years during the war, and then he's friends with Pierre Balmain. And Balmain is telling him, I don't know if Balmain don't like Lelong or they got a little boss employee tension like we all do. But he's like, you're too good, like you shouldn't be here. You need to get your own house. And Christian Dior is just not confident. I think it's just part of his personality too. And then he had all that harsh shit back to back. Brother died, mama died, daddy broke. I got tuberculosis. Like he went through a lot. And then you're telling him to take this big risk again. It's like, and then when the world is offensive too, like we're at war. It's just so many things. But he's considering it though. Like he likes the idea. But then his baby sister, Catherine, is in the resistance in France. And it's like, you can't say that that's wrong, right? Because I'm not that type of political out in the streets person. But let's say I was young, I was college age. Maybe I would be. If she gets into the situation because of the man that she's with too. It's her boyfriend that's influencing her. She gets into resistance. Baby girl gets locked up. Concentration. Now, Christian Dior still working out along. Don't really know what to do. And I think later on, I don't know if he was talking about it in the book or if this is, like I said, show knowledge or random Dior knowledge I picked up. We also went to the Dior exhibit in New York. It was beautiful.
We did. Got some footage.
Yes, we have to. His sister... They're at Lelong, the dresses that are being sold because it's wartime in Paris and Paris is occupied by the Nazis. The dresses are being sold to the Nazi wags, the wives and girlfriends. And after the war, I know Coco Chanel definitely got heat because she was out here living in the Ritz, everything, shacking up with the Nazis. But Dior was just dressing them. So like, who's wrong in this situation? Who do you pick? If you got to pick a side.
Neither. Well, I think Dior, just because he's dressing them. Everybody needs clothes. Chanel was actually like, compatriots with them. Like, is that a good word?
Comrades. I don't know what the correct word would be.
Comrade. They were comrades.
Yes. She was over there sleeping with the enemy. And she didn't care. And then she also, this is not about her, my bad, but she did sell out her Jewish business partners to the Nazis.
Oh, was it the same Jewish family that ends up owning it now?
I don't know. Maybe they might be related or something, but she did sell out her business partner. Like,
we'll do it.
Look over there at them. You see this? That's what they're doing to me. Wink, wink. Giving out addresses. That's what she did. And then in the show, Christian Dior and her kind of have like a weird relationship. Like they're cool, but they're not cool. And he even goes to her at one point and is asking her to maybe use some of her Nazi connections to help out. And she acting aloof. She acting stupid, like she doesn't know. But she does use them to get her nephew out. And then Christian Dior, he has this like, I don't know if it's a fetish, But he has this thing, maybe because he is from what they call a provincial town, and that's Worship Beauty and the Beast, that...
I was going to say, is this fetish like a bestiality fetish? Like Belle?
No, because he's from this provincial town, he believes in like mystics and palm readers and all this kind of sideshow circus type stuff, carnies. And he gets this fortune teller lady, and she tells him basically that he's going to rise in society, and he will have he will be remembered all this. He's going to be great, basically. So he kind of believes it, but again,
he's be important to women and travel a lot. That's what she said? Yeah.
Yes. So
yes,
he takes that. He don't really have a lot of confidence, so he don't really know what to do with it. He doesn't know how to receive it. But then when she tells him that his sister is not going to die when she's at the concentration camps, and he's really going through it, he believes that, and that's what gives him the power and the hope to carry on and get through it. The only other fortune teller situation I'm familiar with is Beyonce and Carmen Jones.
Is it the hip opera?
Yes.
I've never seen that. I just remember seeing it the advertisement on VH1 and was like, oh yeah, that's real bad.
The hip opera, at least you understood the reference.
Yes.
I love being friends with you, the hip opera.
Oh God.
Yes. So because you have not seen Carmen, spoiler alert, Beyonce goes to the fortune teller, same thing Christian Dior. She tells her that you're gonna die, and Beyonce don't want to accept it.
As she should.
So for that reason, I would never go to a fortune teller. But Christian Dior, he seemed to have better luck. And it made me consider when I was reading this book, should I try it? Maybe I could go to a friendly one. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.
I think you should. Why not? And then tell us what happened.
Put it on the blog.
Yeah, why not? It'd be fun. But then let's see. Well, where were we at? So
we were talking about he was working at Long.
Women.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. So he was working at Long. And then, as you said, Balmain went to him, but he kind of worked as liaison to connect him with somebody. At the time, they were trying to resurrect, I forget the name of that brand, but he was being poached from Long to potentially be the new designer and to kind of work like a Karl Lagerfeld and resurrect this dying house.
Mm-hmm.
After he meets with the person, he was apprehensive about the whole thing, and he went in. Well, he's going to say no, right? Oh no, he immediately knew that it wasn't worth his while. He was, as he said, he was a very shy person, very timid, but he went in just kind of knowing or had this vision to where he should instead approach them with the idea of producing his own line. And so that's how Dior came about. What was his name? Marc Brousseau?
Oh, Broussac, Monsieur Broussac, the Cotton King.
Yeah, Monsieur.
And all the French people, because they're a little bourgeois, that's where we get the term. They was making fun of old Cotton King over here, you gonna work with a Cotton King? What kind of clothes you gonna make? You gonna make clown suits, blah, blah, blah. But Broussac, sack as in that money, as in having that bag. So he gave him 6 million francs. And he's the Cotton King, right? So he has the means of production for the fabric. And after the war, that's what people don't got. They don't have the fabric because of the rations, the austerity measures. I don't know what they were using fabric for in the war. How many army military uniforms do you need? Are y'all using it for parachutes? I don't know.
No, hopefully not.
But why can't the girls have a dress? What does that got to do with anything?
Maybe they just didn't trust women to work in tech stuff. Anyway, so they end up making his line, and it's pretty ballsy because at that point, he had his experience from that first, what was it, Picot, and Long, yes. And that's not a ton of experience. And was it Long that was Haute Couture? So that's where he that's where he got the experience.
Yes.
And so he was able to poach people from Long and bring them over to his line. That was in, I guess, before. So that 1947, and that's when he produced his first collection. That was the bombshell, the new look. Immediately, he was a huge success. Imagine that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think the first show was in 1946, and then they had the Haute Couture show in 1947, and he launched the perfume, Miss Dior, which is inspired by his sister Catherine, because she did end up getting free from the Ravensbrück concentration camp after the war, though. he launched the Haute Couture with the perfume because Dior had this thing. And again, that's why I kept going back to the mom. Like maybe the mom was an influence because he said he did not believe a look was complete without the perfume. Like what is the dress without the scent that goes with it? And he really had a thing for flowers. So I feel like he was kind of dressing women like a flower with that big bottom. And then he wanted you to smell very floral, very, feminine as well. So, we love a detail-oriented king.
And that's something that he wrote throughout the book. Is like this thread is just like him thinking about the whole like thing, like every detail. Like for example, one of the things he wrote about after his huge success with the new look and everything, he ended up going to America, and so he was going to accept the Oscar award. They named it the Oscar award, but I didn't know it was called the Oscars, right?
Oh,
was it the Oscar?
The Academy Awards? I think it has both names.
So he was invited by one of the partners of Neiman Marcus.
Mm-hmm.
And that's whenever he was apprehensive because he's never really like traveled before, especially like long distances. But he felt it was the right time for him to come and see America. So he took the bus. I mean, not sorry, so he took So he boarded the boat, and luckily it was not the Titanic, and he came on over.
The Titanic, please.
Came to New York, and then he made his way about, and then he came to Dallas. And I thought it was interesting because, like, even in the book, he wrote about like what he ate here in Dallas. I'm in Dallas, by the way. But he even said about like turkey or ham sandwiches and something, and it sounded pretty lame. So it's interesting that they didn't treat him like, a prince or something.
Oh, they probably didn't know. I mean, no shade to the South, but it's like Southern hospitality. They're going to treat you how, they would want to be treated.
But he did say that he was like mesmerized with the store and about how like, it had its like pick of, the best of Paris. So kudos to them.
I wonder if when he went to Neiman Marcus, and of course that being his first time in America, was it super inspiring for him and did it give him a little bit of a new perspective about how he would want his store to be in America? Because later on in 1948, he opens his own boutique in New York on Fifth Avenue. So I wonder if he was in Neiman Marcus, like kind of scoping the scenery out, like, how do you have this set up in here? What do you got?
I didn't think about that, but probably. I know that it did say that whenever he did purchase, like they had the whole backstory in the autobiography about how he had seen, 30 Avenue Montaigne, and how he really wanted that space previously. Like he walked by years before. He ended up getting that building for his actual like house. And then apparently I didn't know that he was like an equestrian lover, but apparently they had to like bulldoze the what are they called? Stables. So that, they could extend the workrooms and everything. You're good.
In the show, it was like that was a real point of contention because he felt like he was also interested in architecture when he was in college and just everything beautiful. He was very aesthetic as a person. I feel like that word gets overused now. He definitely qualified as that. So when he went to that space that you're talking about, it was like the feeling that he got and all of that, the ceilings, the staircase, how the girls could come down. Like he had like a little vision of it. And he just felt like, especially for his type of clientele, like he knew he wanted the aristocrat. He knew he needed a certain level of woman because you have to be able to afford it. He's like, oh, in this space, they will be able to like dream and feel all the things. And of course, Cotton King, he only about the bottom line. He's like, but you can get this space, you can get that. Oh, this is bigger. And then in the show, they have it to where the Cotton King's wife really talks to him like, leave him alone. He's a creative person. Like he knows he has a vision. Let him do his vision. And then it all comes to life so beautifully with the fashion show being in the house as well.
Whenever he did visit the U.S., he did talk about how besides, obviously he had to port in New York, came to Dallas. He did go to California. He said he didn't really care for Southern California, but he thought he did notice that there was a kind of a divide already then about North and South California. And so he definitely related to like the Northern. But on his way back, he did stop in Chicago and then I think Boston, which is random. But I wrote down this quote because I thought it was perfect. And it's telling that it still fits to this day. It said, what aligned me the most in the course of my staying in the United States was the habit of spending enormous sums of money in order to achieve so little real luxury. He was speaking of the women of America. America, thus realizing the idea of Soviet Russia, represents the triumph of the quantitative over the qualitative. Men and women both prefer buying a multitude of mediocre things to acquiring a few carefully chosen articles. The American woman, faithful to the ideal of optimism, which the United States seems to have made their rule of life, seems to spend money entirely in order to gratify the collective need to buy. She prefers 3 new dresses to 1 beautiful one. She never hangs back from making a choice, knowing perfectly well that they're fancy, but they're short duration, and the dress which she is in the process of buying will be jettisoned very soon.
I think when I was reading that part, I was like, dang, American culture has remained the same, baby.
Yeah. So it's not changed. It's pretty sad. And gotten worse.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't want to call that like an indictment of capitalism necessarily, but I think it is definitely specific to our American culture of like, we always want the new, the best, the fast, the whatever the new thing is. And it's not necessarily about quality really ever. Quality never really gets brought up, I think, in the capital, like consumer conversation in America, unless it's like an electronic. But even then, like when the newer version of that comes out, we're going to get that instead. Even if you told me this was the best, like 4 months ago, if you tell me tomorrow there's a new one, it's like this is trash. Give me that one.
Well, I think if anything, it proves that like the American way of thinking has gone even further. So now like it's permeated to the entire world. So everybody's on that rush to like the newness and, so we're all just polluting at this like insane rate.
I shop, therefore I am. There was a little artist that had that. Interesting. Dior, though, with that 6 million francs, went in. He expanded and revolutionized the licensing and branding business, which the French, of course, again, bougie, they did not like that at all. But Dior, if you've seen House of Gucci, he went a little House of Gucci with it. Like, he was like, you want to make Dior products? What do you got? You got lipstick, you got lip gloss, you got perfume, you got bags, you got belts. Show them to me. Let me see them. Okay, yeah, you can put Dior on it. That's what he was doing. Stockings, hosiery, all of that. And it really did boost his business way further ahead the other couture houses because they're focusing on certain things, more limited quantities of things, all of that, which Dior was still able to do that. And I think that's why when he eventually passed away, they called him, the king is dead, the king of couture, because he was able to focus on those like tenets of couture because he was selling all that other stuff out the back to so much so where he became 50% of the high fashion exports from the whole country of France. He was dominating the girls and the guys because he was selling that stuff. The perfume off the charts. He came up with Diorama. Let me see what year it was. And Diorama is still out right now being sold. Miss Dior is as well. In 1949, Diorama. So it's hit after hit. 1946, first show. 1947, Haute Couture show and Miss Dior perfume. 48 came to America. 49, Diorama. 1950, he designs Marlene Dietrich's costumes for a movie that she's in. What is the movie called? Stage Fright. I'm not familiar with this Turner classic. Y'all can let me know if it's any good in the comments. I prefer Audrey Hepburn. Yes. Okay. So then he gets all of this Hollywood, glitz and glam from that. And then Princess Margaret, my bad, Queen Elizabeth's little sister, ends up wearing Dior in her royal portrait, her official portrait for her 21st birthday. Crazy. And that took him off the charts with the royalty. Once they saw that dress, they couldn't get enough of it. Initially, the king at the time, is his name? Is it Albert? Or is it Edward? I don't know. He was the one that became the king. I don't know what king name he chose. It may have been Edward. But Elizabeth Daddy, he wasn't with it because he was the wartime king. And he was like, y'all, the last thing y'all about to do is go outside wearing these dresses with these big ass skirts and have the ladies ready to rip you apart because we should be austere right now. We should be focused on, cosplaying broke with the rest of the country. Don't throw it in these people's face. So Princess Margaret, when she popped out with the big dress, it was a very big deal. And I guess the new look caused controversy, so much so socially that Dior had to come out and make a statement about it. He said he thinks that the culture or, people just got away from pleasing because during the wartime, it was like, oh, just suffer and go through it. Because when the new look models were on the street taking some of the photographs in the magazine, some women attacked them and started ripping their outfit apart.
I thought it was interesting that, like, I believe it was whenever he went to Chicago, like, he had a good reception here in Dallas, but also in New York, of course. But whenever he went to Chicago, he was greeted and with officers who were going to take him to, he was going to have a press conference. And they were worried because people were protesting, saying to kill him or, about how vulgar the new look was. But it also, another point of his whole shtick was that whenever he didn't feel like he felt filled into the role of being Christian Dior, the designer, he was worried you're not worried, but he thought to, go on a diet and change the way he looked and what people thought a designer looked like. And he said that he quickly threw that out the window. But anyway, so when he arrived in Chicago, the riotous people, they're out here looking for this like super gay like twink, and then Mr. Dior is like this 40? He was 40s in the 40s.
Yeah, he didn't even get started until he was 42. So yeah,
yeah, he's like chunky, older Parisian man,
a diplomat,
bald too.
Bald for sure.
So he said that he was able to pass on through because they had no clue like who they were looking for.
Oh my goodness, that's so funny. He was typecast, but that protected him. Allegedly, the new look skirt took 20 yards of fabric. So if you had coupons and stuff like that, it wasn't going to go well for you. And that's another reason why the king, Elizabeth's dad, didn't want them to wear it. Because I guess back then, and we saw this because we worked in the film library. I was honestly thinking about that when I read it. That was the first thing that came to mind, but I didn't think it was this serious. But anyways, back in the day, in magazines, Vogue, Harper's, etc., they used to have patterns, I guess, for dresses. Like, if you cannot afford the designer dress, here's this pattern for you to make it on your own. So they were saying not only is it like vulgar for you to buy the Dior dress and a waste of money and like unpatriotic, right? Because you should be focused on other things. But if you were to make this yourself, the average woman wouldn't be able to because she wouldn't be able to afford the fabric, number one. And even if she could, she would not have enough of those ration coupons to buy that much fabric to make it. So they were like, if we keep on advertising this, it'll cause outrage. People will be rioting in the streets. Like, is it that serious? I don't know.
Oh, and also because to how you said that that guy was the king of cotton, they thought, the whole idea of the skirt was to also, coincide with him being the king of cotton to use up more fabric. So it kind of like benefited both of them.
Yeah. Yeah. This ain't no homemade shit. This is professional. Mr. Broussac is here to make money. He gave him 6 million francs. It would be worth $104 million today. Mr. Broussac dropped that bag on him. I don't know why I was hating on King Cotton. That definitely puts things in perspective. Wow. That's why he was telling him so much what to do and was trying to control every aspect. Look how much money I just gave you. Shut up. You have nothing but sketches and
it's like
outfits.
It's nice that they did kind of go the like licensing kind of way. Mm-hmm. But it's great that they knew, I guess, when to stop. Whereas it could have gone the way of like a Halston.
Yes. Or even we saw how it went bad in the House of Gucci movie as well, where they had stuff like everywhere to where they couldn't even tell the real between the fakes. And then they started getting annoyed they were losing money. And then Halston, oof, my man was just on drugs and he was partying. He wasn't worried about it.
Greedy.
Yeah, that too. He had to keep those orchids coming. In my opinion, based on what I know about fashion history so far, he was one of the first designers to fully embrace and go and try to make a footprint in South America and not just like where you would think he went everywhere. He went to Haiti, he went to Caracas. He ended up becoming besties with Eva Peron and even had her like a dress form with her measurements in his personal atelier. So they were very much locked in. And he brought the French models with him. And he said, because after the war, he wanted to reintroduce them to glamour. Like they had a love for fashion before. So he wanted to go back into those markets. And I think that was super smart because that probably has a lot to do with why his house was able to last for so long. Because it's internationally known and people can tie it back to their memories of, maybe their grandma wore Miss Dior when they were young, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's a different type of feeling when you have personal connection with the brand. Another fun fact in the book that I feel like I knew about in passing, but not in intimate detail like this. YSL was really the closest person to him.
Was it YSL? He took over Dior? What did he take over?
Yeah, he took over Dior after he died, pretty much immediately after he died. King Cotton was going to close it down because he was sad and he felt like nobody could carry through the vision. But then the partner told him about YSL, how close they had been, I guess, and he showed him some of his work. And not only had YSL been the only assistant ever to Dior, he had worked his way to the company. I think he started as a pattern maker. But yes.
I think that's something that'll be interesting. The continuation we can do next is our research for YSL.
Yeah.
Dior and everything.
Yeah. Dior was also the first ever fashion designer to be on the cover of Time magazine. Sadly, after that, he did pass away. So he was only at the helm of the House of Dior for 10 years before he died.
Yeah, but how old is he? Whenever he started, 42, I think. Mm-hmm. So we got time to still have a hit.
Yeah, we'll work it out. That's also what I was thinking when I was reading it. Like, dang. So sometimes you really do have to live life. But Dior did reflect on that. And he said, if he had the confidence and the self-belief and all of that and just not been so easily swayed, he would have been on his path much earlier. But then at the same time, maybe everything happens for a reason. Maybe if he had done it younger, he wouldn't have been as wise. He would have been as prepared.
Right. It's all in the stars. Mm-hmm. Go see a witch. What is it called?
A fortune teller. Fortune teller, witch, whatever you got. Brujeria. Yes. Cool that you live long enough to write your own autobiography. Before you kick the bucket, so you can get your life out in your own words. It did seem like a lot of reflection. So I hope, I guess for me personally, for my autobiography, I will do half and half. I should probably start now and write from my young perspective and then finish it up when I'm old.
Interesting. I have a friend and he just said that he went back to his parents' house and he found this letter and he was supposed to read it, 10 years later. So I guess he wrote it whenever he was in high school. And he was supposed to read it ideally 10 years after that. But it was so long forgotten that it's actually 20 years now. And so it was interesting, reading this letter from yourself to your future self. And I think that's really sweet. What would you say to your future self? So that's your homework.
Yeah. Future self. I did that in high school too. I don't know if I ever got the letter. Oh, I did get the letter. And it was very stupid. I was concerned about very stupid things. Just boys and oh, will I go to, what kind of college will I go to? Will I have money? Will I have designer bags?
Oh, I still have none of that. Oh no, you froze. Well, I'm going to close out this episode. Tam was so excited to go see about her future. She's gone to the witch doctor currently. Thank you for watching our episode. We are now turned into a bi-weekly podcast. So we will see you in 2 weeks with another episode of That's Haute. Don't forget to follow us on all social media. It's That's Haute, HAUTE pod. Okay, thanks. Bye.